Hello everybody, you're back. This is Disturbing Puppet, continuing my campaign of Blood Bowl 2. So this is the second season that I've been streaming. So this season we're playing a High Elf team, the Talons of Tiranoc. And next up we're playing a Vampire team, which I haven't played before, either as or against. So I'm going to check them out kind of in depth before we start the game. So just kind of go over my team here real quick. So I have one thrower. He's gotten one level up, which rolled doubles, so I was able to give him strong arm. I have a couple of catchers here that I've advanced and picked up dodge with. I have another catcher that I just picked up at the end of the last game. I had enough money. One blitzer who's leveled up, and I've picked up the tackle skill with him. Another blitzer I picked up after my second or third game, who hasn't received a level up yet. I've got one lineman who's picked up the block skill, and then one lineman who's picked up the guard skill, another lineman who's gotten injured and lost a point of armor. Not too big of a deal. So take a look at the vampires. I read a little bit about them before. I'm not super familiar. So a couple of vampires, and the rest are thralls. So we've got a guy with an increased movement here, and dauntless. Pretty standard human stats. One thrall with block, and then the two vampires. So the vampires have a 4 strength, 4 agility, so they're definitely dangerous. Both of them have block as well. Looks like that was what he picked up with skills. So hypnotic gaze. So he has to use this at the end of his move action. Make an agility roll. He's got a pretty good agility with a -1 modifier for tackle zones. Player lose a tackle zone and may not catch, intercept, or pass the ball or assist another player on block or foul or move until the start of the next action or drive ends. Okay. Yeah, so at the end of his move. So he can't use that on somebody first and then just get away from them. He'll have to still make a dodge roll. So Bloodlust, immediately after declaring an action with a vampire, roll a d6. On a 2+, they can carry the action as normal. On a 1, the vampire must feed on a thrall teammate or a spectator. At the end of the declared action, but before actually passing, handing off, or scoring, the vampire must feed. Choose a thrall to bite and make an injury roll on the thrall, treating any casualty rolls badly hurt. Failure to bite is a turnover and requires you to feed on a spectator. Move the vampire to the reserves if he was still on the pitch. Okay, it's kind of an odd mechanic. So there's always a 1 in 6 chance that he's going to have to hurt one of his own guys. How many players does he have? So he's 12, so he just has 1 extra guy. That could end up being a problem for him. Kind of curious. I haven't played as vampires or against the vampires before. Wow, I just noticed he's got 5 rerolls. Ugh. I've barely scraped up enough for 2. My players are pretty expensive. I mean, he does have pretty expensive vampires, but even my linemen are 70,000 to start with. So I wanted to start with an apothecary, so I did that and only had 1 reroll to start with. Kind of piecing things together. I picked up a catcher after the last game. I'd like to have the 4 catchers, because the catchers for the High Elf team actually have a 3 strength as opposed to a 2 for a lot of the other teams. And the 8 movement, so you could use them as catchers, runners, blockers, blitzers. I've added dodge to them. Probably next after that will be block, so I can use them either for catching, ball carrying, or blitzing. So before starting, I have been playing Blood Bowl for a while. I used to play 2nd edition board game with an undead team, and then the previous game that came out I had on my 360 and played that quite a bit with all the teams, but a lot of the teams weren't on there. So the High Elf team I'm playing here I haven't actually played before. So I was kind of looking at trying to do something a little different. I'm often playing bruiser teams, so I wanted to do something a bit more agile. I really did enjoy playing the Wood Elves in the previous game. There's a lot of really cool stuff you could do with the high agility with all your players. So I kind of wanted to force myself to do something a little different. My instincts are often just to beat stuff, pound down the opponent, and then take advantage of any openings I can make. And with an agile team, you can't necessarily do that quite as much. You have a lot of other options and things you can do, so I kind of wanted to force myself to try something a little different, do something different. But I still kind of have that natural inclination. My instinct is to kind of hit stuff first, make openings, and then kind of go from there. I am a decent player. I'm definitely not an expert. I'll try to include some tips and things for newer players some things to kind of keep in mind, things to think about as you're playing. But I probably will miss stuff, especially when I'm streaming. It's a little distracting. The timer, I wish I could make the timer longer, but I sometimes feel a little bit rushed, so I try not to even look at it when I'm playing. If I do, I tend to kind of make some bad decisions sometimes. So there is that aspect of it to kind of consider. I did kind of prefer in the previous game you could set it up to 8 minutes for your turns if you wanted to, which kind of took the pressure off for time and let you really plan things out. I really wish if you're playing against AI, yeah, let me make that decision myself. Let me decide how long I want my turns to be, or unlimited or whatever. But 4 minutes is the max, so that's what I'm going with. So go ahead and start the match here. I have a higher team rating than the opponent, so he's going to get some money, so we'll see what he gets. Halfling Master Chef is kind of crappy. I may end up with no rerolls because of this. It ends up stealing my rerolls. And the Bloodweiser Babe is more likely to recover from KOs, I think, is what that was. I think this is my 5th or 6th game of this campaign, this season. I kind of have it set up. There's 8 teams total, including mine, so 7 other teams. And then I wanted to play every other team, have every team play every other team twice. So I've got a couple rounds of round robin, and then we kind of go into the playoffs. And I kind of prefer that sort of format. I want to have every team play every other team instead of having different divisions with teams you never even play, and then you end up playing against them in the playoffs. Just my own personal preference. Still getting used to the look of my players. A lot of them kind of look very similar. The catchers do stand out quite a bit with the gold and then the white glove. But the blitzers and the linemen look fairly similar, and so does the thrower. Looks fairly similar to the lineman. Especially when you're zoomed out, it's a little hard to tell. But getting used to it. Yeah, so he took both of my team rerolls away from me, so I'll have no team rerolls. And he's going to get the ball first. I actually prefer getting the ball in the second half instead of getting it to start with. With a really weak team that can get hurt easy, say if you're playing goblins or halflings, if you're playing, I don't know, maybe even Skaven, you might want to go first because you can kind of get your hits in first that way instead of getting hit first. Setup is fairly important, something to kind of think about. I'm going to take my guy with the reduced armor off the field. I definitely want my guy with guard on the field. I don't know why he would have been taken off. And I do not want my blitzers on the front line. I'm just going to keep the minimum of 3 guys on the front line. I don't really want to get hit too much, so kind of the intention is just to have the bare minimum on the front there. Want to look at spacing for your tackle zones and things like that for setups. I am going to have my guy with guard off the front line. I want to have him free so that I can move him up someplace if I need to when it's my turn to get assists. Sometimes if you have 3, you might want to have a guy with guard in the middle and then have people with block on the sides. If you're playing a bruiser team, something like that, and then maybe having 5 on the front line or 5 with 3 in the middle and then 1 out on each end isn't too bad. I'm typically kind of playing more that I want as many of my players free as possible. I don't want to get hit too much. So I have sort of an in-depth defense this way. Make sure my catchers with dodge are out on the edges just in case. I've got my new catcher here. Possibly would like to get some points with him. I'm going to keep my thrower deep just as a last-minute defense. So we'll call that good. Pretty typical kind of defense that I do. With the bruiser team, I probably have 5 on the front line. So he didn't actually change his setup at all. We'll kind of kick towards the center. Call it good. I basically just want the ball to stay on the field to left to make some rolls to pick up the ball. I actually get a reroll. That's nice, since he took my other ones. Really, I'm just hoping that the ball stays in play, so he'll have to at least make some die rolls to pick it up. And he picked it up without a problem, even despite the rain. I'm pretty curious to see what he's going to do here, this team, since I've never played against him before. Just pounding on my guys on the front line here, pretty expected. Getting the ball away from the vampire is probably not going to be super easy. So Blood Bowl, you want to do these safe things first. Anything that doesn't require a roll. With the guys who are down, if I want to leave them there, you can go ahead and get them up. If you want to move them out of that position, then you probably want to wait. It's not super important. In this case, I may just go ahead and keep these guys tied up. I don't want them kind of running right through the front line. So at least this player will just kind of leave to be in the way. I wouldn't mind getting this player out of this position, but I don't have a super easy dodge. I don't have a completely free space to dodge to, so I'm just going to leave him where he's at. Now what can I do with my player with guard? It'd be nice to get access to the ball carrier with him. I don't have any decent dodge rolls to get through this hole here. Going all the way around, I can't make it. So we're going to move around in a position where I might be able to take advantage next turn. To possibly come at the ball from that direction. With my catcher, I'm within range to possibly go after the ball, but I'm also going to be in range of the end zone from there. So if I can get the ball, if I can get to him, I can run in within one turn. It's always nice to have that as an option. Actually going to pull my other catcher back in case things go horribly wrong, so I have a couple guys deep with the vampire with the 4 strength. I need at least 2 guys to get it 1 die block on him. I think I'm going to end up just blitzing and hitting the guy in the back here to try to break in from the back into cage he's building around his ball carrier. Whoa, we got a kill right away. That's pretty cool. I'm sure he'll use his apothecary. No, still dead. Okay, maybe he didn't use his apothecary. It's a little risky, but I am going to go ahead and move adjacent to the ball carrier. It's a little risky because he might just end up blocking my guy. Most likely he'll use somebody else to come and blitz him to free up the ball carrier to move the ball forward. I don't like leaving my guys adjacent to his, but sometimes you kind of have to sort of hang things up and block forward progress. So what I may do is just move him over so I'll have an advantageous block with my center guy who has block against his player, just to see what we can do. And we'll follow that up. Oh, actually, I ran out of time there. Like I said, I try not to look at the clock. It tends to make me sort of make bad decisions sometimes. Really, all I would have done would have been to move him over here or over here. But as it is, having him free isn't a bad thing either. Once I put him next to somebody, he's a little bit stuck unless I want to make a dodge roll out of there. Using the other vampire to free up his ball carrier. Well, that's not helpful. Another guy stunned. That's too bad. Seven rerolls up here. Jeez. Not a fan of that. So I'm going to move my guy with guard up. Sort of be in the area here. And see if I can attack towards the ball carrier. Just see if we can break up the cage here a little bit. I am going to stay put. I don't want to be next to two vampires. And I'll move here so I can have an assist, throw a block this way. And I think I might be focusing too much on hitting. Both have blocks, so nothing really there. Dodge out of here, get away from that vampire. I'm just going to move down here to sort of cover the edge with the tackle zone, so at least have to make some rolls. Most likely to try to push through here in the center. Move my other catcher up to sort of cover this area a little bit. I can leave my other catcher here as sort of a last-ditch attempt, being within the range of the end zone if I want to. He might pull some guys off to cover him as well, or I can try to run him around. Got a decent number of guys in between the ball carrier and the end zone, I hope. So I don't necessarily need to sort of try to get access from this direction. But if I can get adjacent to the ball carrier, it at least means he'll have to do something. So we'll do that. Most likely he'll just get hammered. And I'm still going to leave my thrower down here deep just in case things go horribly wrong. And we'll call that good. I should check and see what the number of vampires he can have on a vampire team. He's got 2. I'm just curious if that's the max or not. And unfortunately, I'm in a position where he's going to end up beating up on my guys here a bit, most likely. It's the problem with trying to stop an advancing team. Yeah, using the vampire again to hammer my guy next to the ball carrier. Kind of hoping my guys stay on their feet, but not going that way. It's just moving out to the side a bit. It's a little surprising. Throwing those 1-dice blocks and then actually being successful. I almost will never throw a 1-die block against somebody unless that's the ball carrier. And a stun, that's kind of crappy being there. One of my guys in between the ball carrier and the end zone being stunned is a bit of a problem. So who can I get to the ball? Possibly my catcher. Does not have to make a couple dodge rolls to do that, though. I'd like to move him out of here. I don't really want anybody next to a vampire if I can avoid it. Don't see a good way I can get a couple people on the ball carrier to throw a block on him, unfortunately. I mean, I can try with him. I'd have to make 3 dodge rolls to get there. I do have dodge, so it's not super crazy. Then I'd have to dodge around with my other guy to throw a block from the back somewhere. Unfortunately, the problem with that is, best case scenario, I'm pushing him closer to the end zone. I don't want to move him towards the end zone if I can avoid it, but sometimes that's all you can do. So that's a little bit risky, so what I'm going to do is everything else first. And try to dodge out of here. Just sort of get in the way if possible. I've got an advantageous block here, I might as well throw before I do anything else. Just a push is unfortunate. I'm actually going to stay put. I want to sort of keep guys covering the whole area here. If I move out of position, then there's a little bit of an opening this direction. All right, we'll go for the crazy thing here. Okay, that's one. That's two. That's a vampire movement 6. Okay. So really, he's the only one I could potentially blitz with, and I'll have to make a couple dodge rolls as well to get through here. He does have dodge, so it's not super crazy. It feels crazy because I'm used to playing kind of bruiser teams and stuff, but it really isn't with the agility that I've got. So it's still just a single die block. I've got my reroll still, thankfully. He does have block and I don't. I'll have to use a reroll. Yeah, that's unfortunate. He does have kind of an open route here, but I do have a guy deep. He only does have a 6 movement, which isn't bad, but it's not great either. I haven't yet seen his vampires hammer any of his own players or anything. Yeah, he didn't actually run down the side here. I'm a little surprised. Ended up pushing me next to his ball carrier there. And he just freed up 2 of my guys. So him, we'll just plan on keeping him here to sort of cancel tackle zones and be in the way of his advancing towards the end zone. I'll move him over just to assist on the edge. Yeah, I'm going to be a bit more defensive here and just sort of thinking about moving him down within striking range of the end zone, but instead just kind of using him to cover this end. So my player with guard is free. Can't really get to the ball carrier. So since I have actually it's not advantageous. I don't have anybody covering him. Thought for a second I had the. I can make it even or with an advantage there. Hmm. Yeah, I think we're just going to try to move closer to the ball carrier here. Oh well, 67%. Sometimes will fail. So you do the easy things first and then go for important stuff. Trying to get towards the ball carrier. Fairly important. The 4 strength of the vampires does make it pretty hard to kind of deal with them. Once they've got the ball, getting it away from them is not easy. I'd prefer if my players stayed on their feet, but no injury. It's okay. Yeah, stun isn't great, though. Could be worse, but not great. I'm not sure he's even going to move the ball forward much here. And he surprises me again. Yeah, and he just freed up some guys that I can use to get towards the ball carrier. It's a little odd. Okay, I can actually get a couple assists on him and have an advantageous block. I plan on doing that first before I do anything else. I don't want to get anybody up. Now's the time to do it. Got my blitzer free here as well. Just going to move him up in case I need him. At this point, he can make it in if he goes for it once, if I don't actually knock him down or take the ball away from him. So hopefully my thrower can do something here. I don't have any re-rolls, so it's a little bit uncomfortable. Just a push, that's crappy. I will follow up to be in the way. Try to get my catcher away from here. Move him over to help cover as well. And I'm going to leave him here not adjacent, just kind of adding another tackle zone, making it more difficult to get through here. Also try to get him free and move him down. Trying to block off as much of his chances of getting out of this position as possible. Certainly possible to be able to break out of it, but it's about all I can really do to sort of block his forward momentum. I'll be curious if he follows this up or not. Yeah, he did, so he sort of is blocking his own access route out that way if he wanted to go that way. And gets that 1-die block in. That's unfortunate. He's got plenty of rerolls, so yeah, just a push on him. That's pretty good. 2 dice. Would have liked a turnover earlier. Would have stopped what he was doing. But I think I should be in range with my blitzer there, so that he can throw the block. Now, I could have potentially left him free to possibly pick up the ball if I do knock it free. Now, this is a case where I actually just made a mistake. What I wanted to do is have the blitzer come and hit from this direction so I could knock him this way. I can still throw a block from here, but I have to go for it in order to do it. Or I could try to dodge this guy back out and move him to a different position. That might be a better chance since I have the dodge skill. I'll do that. My catcher I wouldn't really like to leave here, but I want to do the things that are important first. And we'll stand him up. So the really important thing is to throw that block on the ball carrier. So that is what we will do. Before doing anything else, see what happens. Got a good chance. Just a push. Go for pushing him up against the edge here. Don't really want to leave anybody next to a vampire if I can avoid it, so try to get him out of there. Just put another person on him. Try to make it as hard as possible. And what I'm going to do is get my catcher out of here and move him down somewhere where if I do get the ball free, since there's not a lot of time left in the half, I could possibly run it in from where I'm at. Yeah, don't even have to go for it from that position to get in. So if I can somehow knock the ball free and get the ball to him, toss it, then I'll at least have a chance to score here before the half is over. And unfortunately, I think I'm just going to leave this poor guy here to get beaten on. I don't really like doing that, but I'd like to limit the number of guys he can get over towards his ball carrier. The danger here, if I push him out, if the guy with the ball goes out or the ball ends up out, it gets thrown in kind of in a random direction. So it could end up out here next to one of his guys where I've got nobody covering. So it is a little bit of a problem if I knock this guy out off the side of the field. But I don't have a lot of other choices. Still swarming my linemen down here. He's got to make quite a two dodge rolls, 50%. Yeah. Okay, good. The ball stayed on the field. That's what I wanted. If it ended up deviating, going out off the side, then it would get thrown in somewhere random. So the plan will be thrower picks it up, moves down, makes the toss, and hopefully we'll score here. We'll do everything else that's safe first. Just going to try to hang up his guys if possible. Actually going to move another guy over. In case I screw up, I'll have somebody else kind of in the neighborhood of the ball in case he doesn't pick it up. Okay, good. It is a pretty far throw here. 67%, 67%. I could try to go for it to get a little closer, but I've had a lot of really bad luck with going for it rolls, so I'm actually just going to toss it from there. Nice! And instead of doing anything else, we're just going to run that in and score the touchdown. That's why it's always nice to have somebody who you at least have a chance of scoring with. You never know when things are going to work out just the way you need it. Okay, my guy come back. That's nice. So again, since I scored, he's going to get the ball back again. The setup was basically fine. I may actually move my guy with guard back a little bit. I don't want them to block and just end up being next to him already. I want him free so I can move him where I want. So he's just got one turn. Yeah, again, I really just want the ball to stay on the field. It deviates quite a bit. So yeah, just kind of hoping it stays on the field. So we'll have to make at least a roll to pick it up, because he could always fail that. The more dice he has to roll to do stuff, the more likely he'll fail something. Sometimes all you can do defensively is to make your opponent have to roll lots of dice. So decreasing his chances and making the number of dice he's got to roll increase, and he can only use one reroll per turn. Oh, there's a bloodlust failure. Let's see what happens. He's going to go hammer one of his guys. I'm assuming then it didn't actually do anything to him. I didn't catch it. The dice results here at the bottom. Okay, so last turn of the half. Really, all I would want to do would maybe to possibly injure some guys. I can't really do much else, so I might as well just hurt some people. So give me an advantageous block there. I would like this blitzer to go up, so I'll use him. We'll just kind of throw a block on this thrall here, just to see if we can possibly get an injury. It's not super likely or anything. You don't really need to do much else. I mean, it's the end of the half, so I don't need to really position my guys carefully or any of that kind of stuff. Just a push. always kind of have that sort of natural thing where if you have somebody like this, you want to push them towards the side because you can possibly knock them out if you hit them from directly adjacent. It's always a nice thing to have someone knocked out off the field of play. They're out until the next time play stops. Yeah, and that's all I'm going to do for the half, before the half ends. So I do stream on here, and then occasionally, when I've got some time, I'll throw the games up on YouTube. I'll play other games as well. Mostly been playing Blood Bowl 2 as far as what I've been streaming. I actually lose 0 this time. That's nice. I'll have my 2 rerolls. So I'm actually going to be receiving the ball, so he's got to set up first. What kind of weird setup this is. Let's put my guy with block on the front line. Incredibly strange setup here. Since he doesn't have anybody out on the edges, I'm just going to go ahead and move my guys all the way up right onto the line. Just makes it less distance I have to cover to get toward the end zone. Have my better catchers right on the line. There's my player with guard. And the dugout again. Okay. Again, we'll have him up for support. I would possibly, if I'm going to score, it would be nice to score with my new catcher or with this blitzer who hasn't received the level up yet. Something you want to look at as you're playing is kind of deciding who you want to possibly score. So we're keeping my thrower back, so he'll be the one grabbing the ball, and then I could run it with him a little bit, but I always have that option of throwing it to somebody. We've got the rain still coming, so it'll be a little harder to pick up. But you want to prioritize like who you want to level up. If you get a lot of star player points in one person, it's great, but they can always get hurt or killed, so you want to sort of spread it around if you can. And I get another reroll. Nice. So what I'm doing, I'm going to plan on blitzing on this side, taking out a thrall. So then we'll do just other general movement on the other side. So we'll move adjacent here to somebody, kind of tying him up. I'm going to move this catcher within touchdown range. So I have the option both ways with my catchers. They might divert guys off to cover the catchers, and that might free up other options as well. So I'll move him down here in range as well. Again, I would prefer to score with this catcher or with this blitzer. Go ahead and do the blitz. And then I'm going to move around just to cover another player. Move my player with guard up on this side so I can throw some blocks. The safest block will be with my guy with block, so we'll do that first. Then we'll probably go after the ball next. I'm just going to stay put, keep my line sort of intact here. So hopefully pick up the ball. Reroll time. Okay. And then with a thrower like this, what I'm going to do is sort of run in this direction, and possibly he'll end up pushing guys over this way, and then I can always kind of run back the other direction and then toss if I need to at some point. So he may split up guys trying to come towards my ball carrier, he may split guys over to cover this catcher, and then if you can divert over and then have a free toss the other way. Right now I'm far enough back that I should be safe from these guys. So got an advantage here, we'll throw another block. Yeah, we'll stay put with him too. Yep, got a KO, that's nice. Reducing number of his players for the play. It's very tempting to throw a block here because I do have an advantage, but if I screw that up, it creates a pretty big opening here that he can kind of run right through towards my ball carrier, so I'm actually not even going to risk it. So there's things like that you want to consider. Yes, I do have an advantageous block. I don't have block. He does. That makes it about even. And if I go down, then it's totally wide open for him to just run right through towards my ball carrier. So sometimes doing nothing is the better choice. At least things you want to think about before making those decisions. Even if you decide to go ahead and go for it, the risk is worth it. I'd also use the reroll already that turn. So he's going to try to cover this catcher with at least one guy. Let's see if he puts anybody on my other catcher out here. He's mainly going after my blitzer, it looks like. Three-die block on my blitzer. Okay. So I want to do anything safe first. I would like to get him out of there. It's relatively safe, but I'll do other things first. Like hanging up these guys, just in case things go really wrong. So I've got an advantageous block I can throw here. I've got a totally free catcher out here. I can get relatively close, and then I could actually score from where I'm at. But I'd like to at least throw some blocks first. So I've got this here. I've got block. He doesn't. Pretty good chance. Just a push is unfortunate. I do enjoy hurting people. Freed him up so we can get an advantageous block here. Although neither one of us have block. It's a little bit risky, we'll go for it. See, I'm even nervous about blocks where I have 2 dice. An opponent throws blocks all the time with one, or sometimes even where it's two and I get to pick because I have the advantage. I'm going to try to dodge out of here. It's an 80% chance. I still have my reroll. So I can score, potentially, if I make the die rolls. It's very, very quick. Sometimes it's in your best interest to sort of beat up your opponent a bit and take your time to score. With more agile teams, you can score really quickly, and sometimes it's nice to do that because you do get more star player points from getting touchdowns. So I could potentially just run out this way. I've got things relatively contained. He can run these guys over. If I wanted to take my time, that would be the way to go. Instead, I'm just going to go for the touchdown here if I can. Nice. Get 67% because of the rain. Normally it would be 83%, I think, for those. And we'll just run in for the touchdown. Sometimes if you score too quickly, it does leave your opponent a lot of time for them to score. So paying attention to the turns, how much turns you've got left, all that can be very important. Just want to make sure my setup didn't get changed here. Yeah, so you can see I only really used 2 of his turns there for me to score, so he's got quite a few. But I am ahead by 2 points. And again, just trying to keep the ball in play here. I can change my defense. That's nice. I definitely want to get away from the vampire then. And I'm going to make kind of an off-balanced setup here. And he's only got this one guy on the line, so I'm going to move up in a position where I'll be able to throw a block on him if he doesn't move him, which will make a little bit of an opening instead of having to use a blitz to hit somebody. I think everybody else can kind of stay where they're at. Now I could have moved guys up adjacent here just to sort of tie those guys up. That's always something you can do, but I'm trying to avoid taking blocks as much as possible. My armor isn't bad or anything. Most of my guys have 8. With some of the teams that are really light and fast, 7 armor is kind of standard. At that point, you're a little bit more likely to take damage. If you're playing a goblin team or something with halflings, because of your stunty ability, you're much more likely to take damage. So you always want to stay away from your opponent. Never want to leave guys adjacent to an opponent. You're so much more likely to get hurt from blocks and stuff. Didn't really do a lot there. Move my guy with guard up to help assist here, see if we can break through the line a bit. right in front of the ball carrier. Go ahead and throw my advantageous block here. I've got 2 dice. I also have skill advantages, so it's fairly safe. And an injury, nice. Excellent. See if we can clear off the guy on the end here. Yeah, if I can take this guy out as well, I might be able to get in for something. Move him here so he's not in the way. Access. And I'm going to stay put. I want to keep sort of a line there in the way of his forward advancement. An injury, that's nice. Well, we got a level up there. Cool. I think that's the first level up I've had in a couple games. Now with this positioning here, I can't get an assist easily. I'd have to run around behind and have somebody in this position right here to give me an assist. I could do it if I dodge a bunch, maybe. Yeah, that's a little crazy. So instead what I'm going to do is just go for this guy on the end. We'll blitz him. Try to break up any cage he can build around his ball carrier before he really gets it going. And because of these guys not being stunned or out, I'm actually not going to move adjacent to the ball carrier. We've got him somewhat surrounded here. He can still get out and around different ways, but I've got guys in the general vicinity. So I may move up to sort of cover this guy and make it a little harder for him to move people around. Tempting to move the catcher down so that I also have that option of maybe getting into the end zone. But for right now, with the other vampire here, I want to try to keep some coverage. I could also move him up to sort of tie this guy up as well, which may not be a terrible idea. Having guys free is always nice. I still have my thrower here, so yeah, maybe for now I'll move in. I can always dodge out of there, at least hopefully dodge out of there if I need to. That's a fail his going for it roll, so that was. I do think it's kind of weird the way they use the animation. It makes it look like it's defender down or attacker down result, but it's not. Where are you going? Okay. It's my player with guard. If I go for it, I can move into position here. So I will plan to do that, but I'll do anything that doesn't require any dice rolls first. I would like to get him out of there, so that's another dice roll. Move him up, so I'll have an advantageous block there if I want to take it. I've got the rerolls, so let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to move to here, make a going for it roll to get adjacent to his guys there. Yeah, I've had such bad luck with going for it rolls. It's supposed to just be a 1 in 6 chance it happens, but it seems to happen a lot. So now, since I had to use a reroll, I'm just going to stand him up. If I'm going to dodge out of there, I'll use my guy with dodge. So we'll try to hit the ball carrier. Can use the catcher to get an assist. Got block and tackle here, so hopefully we can take him down. Just a push. Positioning's not great. Yeah, it's tempting to throw blocks here. I don't have an advantage other than the 2 dice advantage. I don't have any skills or anything that affect. I definitely don't want to hit this guy with block with someone who doesn't have block. I could throw an advantageous block here, and hopefully that would turn out okay. I could throw one here, but if I screw this one up, that's really bad. It makes a big opening. I'm going to go ahead and try to get him away from the vampire. And I'll just kind of move towards the center covering. So now I could a little bit more comfortably throw this block in case things go wrong. I still have somebody sort of covering that area. We'll go ahead and try for this one as well. And the pushes aren't super helpful for me. Try for the block here as well. Lots of pushing. So I'm going to leave my catcher here to sort of help cover this guy. He can relatively easily get away from there if I need him. I've still got my thrower deep. So I'm going to let him try to figure out how to advance with that mess. Yeah, and that's something you can do. If you're not going to blitz with anybody else, blitz with the ball carrier, throw a block, and you can still move. He's not moving, though. So sometimes blocking with your ball carrier is not a bad idea, but you can always blitz with them and then throw a block. You don't have to follow it up, and then if you're free, you could then move. Let's hit Hypnotic Gaze failure. But I have the icon there, like I'm hypnotically gazed. I'm assuming. Maybe he used a reroll. Can't tell for sure. So I still have my guy with guard adjacent. You can blitz with people who are on the ground as well, as long as you declare it before you stand up. That's what I'm going to do. Throw a block on the ball carrier. It's only a 1-die block, but it's about all I can do. We both have block. I'm not going to risk a reroll, so it doesn't really do anything. Try to get out of that position, and we can move around for an assist if I want to throw a block that direction. Be nice to get him free as well. Maybe throwing more blocks than I should here at this point. My instinct from playing kind of bruiser teams is always to hit stuff, so sometimes I'll fall into that a little bit too much, especially if I'm trying to be a little bit more finesse gameplay-wise, or using my agility to its best advantage. So here it is 1 die. I do have block and he doesn't, so it's almost like having an advantage. I'm going to go ahead and take the risk. Put another guy adjacent to the ball carrier. I don't really want him there, so I'm going to try to get him out of there. And I'm just going to move him over, so we're sort of covering the side here with some tackle zones in case he breaks out and tries to want to get through this way. So I do have an advantageous block I can throw on this guy, but he does have block and I don't. Still have my thrower deep in case I need to. We'll play it a little dangerously. I'm just going to stay put. Stay on the ball carrier. I'll leave my catcher where he's at as well. I could potentially move up to here just to sort of have a complete coverage for the front. It's much more likely he would block him then to try to make an opening. At this point, he'll have to... he possibly could try to run through here, but I've got so many tackle zones, it's pretty unlikely. So running straight through, not too likely. Let's see if I can get my blitzer out of here. And I'll just hang up some more of his guys so he can't move them over towards the whole scrum that's going on this side. Keep the thrower deep. I'm playing a lot more defensively at this point. I've got the lead. I'm just trying to burn out time. If I can get the ball, that'd be great. Damn vampires. Hey, there's a nice turnover for me. before he got a chance to do much. Throwing that 1-die block can be dangerous, even with a reroll. Still have my guy with guard on the ball carrier. Got an advantage already. I've got a guy with block here. Do I want to use my blitzer first? I might want to use the blitzer. It sort of depends on what the results are. I probably don't want to leave him here, so we'll go ahead and throw the block here since I've got an advantage. See what happens first. Unfortunately, we both have block. And now I can use him to blitz to hit the ball carrier as well. Don't really want to move him because I have my guy with guard on him, which helps me, but not many other choices. Just trying to giving myself some advantageous blocks. Advantageous blocks, if I could speak correctly, that would help. See if we can clear out this guy. So now I have the option I could move this guy around adjacent to the ball carrier as well in the back. I could also use him somewhere here to sort of block forward progress this side. This vampire is going to cause me some problems pounding his way through here, I'm sure. So that may not be a bad choice. Something like here, position-wise. Try a little risky block here. I've got a reroll, so it's worth a shot. Move him over. I'm going to stay put so that I'm free for movement if I want. I could even throw another block here since I've got the guard there. Just another push. And I'll stay put as well, so we're covering that side. It's a little risky to do this. I do have block. I've got a reroll, so we'll give it a shot. Probably shouldn't have. And that's why. 2 attacker downs in a row, just like he just had. Now I get it. But it was my last thing I was doing, so it didn't affect me quite as much as it affected him. But that's why I often don't feel super comfortable throwing those 1-dice blocks. Even if I've got skill advantage, I got a reroll, things can go bad still. So if you're going to do that, save it for the absolute last thing you're going to do. And here he's throwing a block where I have the advantage and I get to choose what the results are. I never do that. It's so incredibly dangerous to do this. But it often seems to work out for the AI when it does it. And then he fails a going for it roll. And fails a going for it roll again. That's why I don't trust going for it sometimes. It's supposed to be a 1 in 6 chance. It happened in my last game too, where the opponent went for it, failed, used a reroll, failed. And it's a 1 in 6 chance. So 1 in 6 times 1 in 6, happen twice in a row. That's a 1 in 36 chance that you're going to do that. But just happened in the last game. It does seem sort of like it's a lot closer to at least 1 in 3 for the failure rate. I don't know why, it just seems like it. So here what I'm looking at is maybe using him to blitz, to hit this guy, to free up somebody, free a path. Or do I want to just go grab the ball with the catcher first and move down the field? I don't have any rerolls. I probably should go for the ball first, but then I should just stand him up and not do anything. That will be aggressive. I may regret it. And I'm staying put, so I have an assist for the other guy there, so that he can throw a block with an advantage. I've got him free to help cover the ball carrier if I can pick up the ball. Let's try to pick up the ball. Maybe it wouldn't have been a bad idea to have my thrower also move adjacent to it, just in case. And if I fail it, then somebody else might be adjacent to the ball. It's not a huge thing, but it would be helpful possibly to have some more people on the ball there. He's just going to hammer my poor catcher here, try to grab the ball himself. Hopefully he'll fail picking it up too. That would be awesome. I was not even going to go for it. I'm surprised. I thought for sure he would go grab the ball and then try to carry it in at least a little bit distance. Okay, if I'm going to hit the vampire, I want to hit him with somebody with at least block. I think I'm just going to stand him up to have an assist. I'll even move him over. Remember, the angle that you hit from kind of determines where you can push guys. So I want to move him away from the ball, back that direction preferably. Yeah, all I get on these vampires is pushes. But it's enough to get him away from the ball. So here I'm just looking at tying up people. I've got a lineman free here, so I could run up, grab the ball, and just keep running with it and have a lineman to help defend. I could try to grab it, move out, and toss it to my catcher out here that's free. That's a little bit more risky. It's 5 to get it. I can only move 1 space without having to go for it. You'd have a chance at an interception or something. I do have safe throw, I think. Yeah, so it's less likely. So I may just grab it and try to run up with the lineman there with assistance, and I can always toss it later. Still only 67% chance to pick up the ball. So is there anything else I want to do first? Move up here so I can possibly have an advantageous block. I'm going to go ahead, since I'm not going to plan on tossing it this turn, I'm going to move on down the field. So I'm within strike range if I can get the ball at some point. And then we'll try to pick up the ball. I'm not doing anything with this guy yet because I want to use him to protect. Yeah, another failure. %67% failure again. Can't always rely on that. Especially when you're out of rerolls. It can get really dangerous. Yeah, I wasn't actually paying attention to the turns there, so that was my last turn. This is his last turn. No way he could score. But it's always a good idea to kind of keep in mind that kind of stuff about movement and being within striking distance of the end zone. So Bloodlust was a failure. Then he re-rolled. Okay. I just got an achievement in Dodge We Trust. I guess I dodged a lot in that game. So Fame +1, 70,000 gold. That's nice. Fan factor goes up, which means more money. I did actually kill one of his guys, rather surprisingly. 8 armor breaks, 10 armor breaks. I never look at the replays, I just delete them right away. So ball possession. I actually had very low ball possession. Pretty much if I had it, I was going to score. It's very quick. Some of the really agile teams, it's often very, very low. I'm not really sure how it calculates occupation. The halves, I almost always seem like I'm very low on those. 2 passes, 2 catches, 34 blocks exceeded, 42. I actually did a lot more damage even though I had less blocks. Running was actually pretty comparable, but I had a pretty good amount of passing as well. Pretty good mix of star player points there. That's pretty nice. If things go really, really bad for you, you can look at the die roll results sometimes. It should be relatively even across here. It's not quite, but it's not super off. It doesn't show you the die results for the blocking dice, and that I would actually be a little more interested in seeing kind of what the results were there. So I'm in first place here. So yeah, that was the 6th game. So I have 1 draw, 5 wins, putting me in first place. Kiss Up Circus 3-2-1. Goblins actually 3-3. Chaos Dwarf 3-3. Skaven 2-1-3. Chaos Dwarf 2-1-3. Actually 2 Chaos Dwarf teams in this competition. Vampires have not won yet. 4 draws and 2 losses. Necromantic also have not won yet. 3 draws, 3 losses. Actually, playing against other people back when I was playing the board game a lot, it was actually pretty common to have draws instead of actually winning. I think roughly about at least 30-40% of the time, it seemed like we ended up drawing instead of actually winning, outright beating the opponent. Sometimes some crazy stuff just works, and you end up tying up the game just in time. I don't know necessarily how it comes up with these results sometimes. I know you can look at the touchdowns and everything and see who won by how many points. Sometimes this seems really odd. I've noticed for the auto resolution, it seems like goblins do pretty well, but when I play against them, they tend to get beat up pretty bad. I think, yeah, this will be the last game where I'll be playing the last other team I haven't played yet. Then we'll do another round of playing each other team one time. Then we'll go into the playoffs. So I will be playing the other Chaos Dwarf team since I've only played one so far. So the Obsidian Bloodseekers. So the Obsidian Bloodseekers have a pretty decent rating.
I'm looking forward to these next 3 matches.
And they're in 4th place with 3 wins and 3 losses. So I've got guys leveling up. Let's see what we can get. Actually, 2 guys. So my Blitzer went up again. I often like shadowing with guys who have pretty decent movement and agility. When I was doing a Dark Elf team in the previous game, having tackle and shadowing was really, really helpful. Strip ball is also really nice. I did get a lot of push results there when I was trying to get the ball from the opponent. My initial thought was to go for shadowing. So every time they move away from you, there's a pretty good chance with a high agility that you're going to follow up. And then if you got tackled, they can't use dodge to get away. So it makes it more likely that they're going to fail at some point. So if you can put them next to a catcher or a runner, every time that person tries to get away, you've got that good chance of following them up. They've got to make that dodge roll. They've got to make the dodge roll again if they want to move again, and make the dodge roll again if they move again. And eventually it can really even out. But that only really helps you if he doesn't end up knocking down your blitzer that you have adjacent to his runner or whatever at the start of the turn. Based on what happened in this game, I think I'm going to go with strip ball instead. So even if I do get a push, that it will free up the ball and knock that free. And then with my other lineman here, let's see what we get. Okay. Nothing special. Block is my first kind of inclination to go for. Yeah, I think we'll just go with block. I need some guys I can put on the front line who can take a beating and at least have a chance of standing their own, and block helps a lot with that. Up to 100,000. I've got just enough for another reroll if I want to do that. That's very tempting. Having no money is not great. I do have 2 extra guys, so it's not too bad. My team rating is already 1470 though, so if I do that, it'll increase it even more and give my opponent even more money to spend on star players and that kind of stuff for the next game. So I may hold off a game before I do that. I didn't actually mean to exit out of there. Yeah, so I think I'm just going to sit tight with the money I've got and not spend it. So I think that's going to be it for today. I'm going to eat something since I haven't done that yet. So thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm not sure when the next games will go up. I do have a bunch of games here on Twitch. And then I will put stuff up eventually on YouTube as well. And on YouTube, I'm also DisturbingPuppet. I just have the first 2 games of this competition up there, but I think all of them, maybe not the first one, is still up on Twitch. So if you want to check those out, that's great. I've got my previous season with a Chaos Dwarf team up on YouTube as well. So I really appreciate you watching. Thank you very much. Have a good day.